What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here, joined by Josh Davis. Welcome into the Wednesday Linc Live, and we are 2 days away from the Philadelphia Eagles' actual opener in Brazil versus the Green Bay Packers, and what I thought was going to be just a normal, quiet travel day, Josh, just 10-hour flight down to Brazil, get there, have dinner, go to bed, practice tomorrow. That doesn't seem to be the case. We have plenty to go ahead and talk to. First off, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And yes, as I see several people commenting, you let the people know as well. I was getting back late from the gym, but we're doing well. It's the same old, I suppose. We're starting out, but pre-week one. We're not even week one yet,
I
but like
know.
before that, it's already because someone's like, oh, hey, what else is new? We have an injury to report. We have some drama here on the roster. It's par for the course, I guess. Uh, I'm with you also. I did not expect to hear this or see this before Brazil. It seemed like all signs were go. We're like, hey, there's not that many on the injury report, a little bit of limited, but those are kind of like sometimes rest, sometimes like a little
Yeah.
precautionary. Hadn't heard really too much, which I'm sure we're going to get into all the rumors and speculations and thoughts. And I know we will get comments, and we appreciate everybody, even the ones that disagree with us, as long as we're agree to disagree or respectfully. But yes, it is still the positive, at least, like you laid out there, as well as the fact that tomorrow kicks off the NFL season, and then just a day after that, and we have Eagles football in Brazil, Friday night action. It's gonna be awesome, even though there are some storylines beforehand that kind of catches off guard.
We're pumped, and we're going to be live, obviously. For those watching right now who watch this
There
later
you go.
on, we're going to be live right before the game actually kicks off with a full broadcast. Try to be the best Eagles live stream on YouTube. We believe we're going to have that this year, so go ahead and check us out. We greatly appreciate if you guys come and hang out. Let's just jump right into it, right? Both of you, or both of us, have talked about it on our shows today. Most people have seen the news by now. Devin White, he is not on the plane that is still technically in the air. It has not landed yet in Brazil with the rest of the
Mhm.
Philadelphia Eagle team because he is out with an ankle injury, which, on one hand, Josh, it isn't the biggest news story. Like, sure, you're missing one of your linebackers, potentially your starting linebacker for week one. That's a bummer, but that's where the story should end. But then you had the Philadelphia Inquirer, you had Albert Breer, both mentioned that not only did the Eagles feel like Nakobe Dean really won the job against Devin White, but they also were apparently shopping Devin White before the cutdown day. Give me your
Mhm.
initial thoughts to this one. Like, do you believe everything that you read? Where's the disconnect here? What am I missing?
Okay, so I guess first off, no, to answer broadly, I don't believe everything that I read. And I think the vast
I don't
majority of
either.
people would probably agree with that in the comments. Whether or not you agree these stories, what you read at all times is not always true. Now, I even gave a shout out to Andrew DeCecco because I do recall him probably being the very first one to put it out there multiple times of saying, hey, Nakobe Dean is the best linebacker on the Eagles. He still has a legit shot. I think he even predicted saying, like, I believe he'll still be the starting linebacker. So kudos to him if that was actually the case there for the Eagles, I'm saying, because he did believe it. He said it from
Sure,
day one.
sure.
But I think that where I'm coming from, and I get the whole sense of people saying, "Oh, well, hey, practices are closed sometimes. We didn't see every single practice that the Eagles had." It's fair, but there were very few practices that the media was not there when it was a legit practice.
Sure.
Most of those were just walkthroughs. And so if you say, well, okay, Nakobe was winning out or beating out for the job, maybe he played a little bit better, but at the same time, like, I'm sorry, I won't believe anything that you tell me about Vic Fangio playing Devin White as your first string, first team linebacker every single practice and not having Nakobe Dean swap out with him. And then all of a sudden be like, oh, well, hey, Nakobe Dean is taking this job here. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a little bit strange. You feel like you would have seen that even after some of the preseason games of a couple practices going, oh, hey, looky there. Hey, Nakobe Dean is playing first team reps, but he wasn't. And so I can't personally buy it. I understand the rumors. I understand people that are on the Nakobe Dean hype train, and I got a lot of those. I'm sure that you did as well. If people saying you were wrong, I told you so, because there's a lot of those. But this to me is more so of Devin White got injured. Nakobe Dean is stepping up. Good for him. He's got an opportunity to honestly take the job, keep the job, however you want to phrase it, and he can
Sure.
step up for that. But I just can't believe the fact of saying, like, no, there's a linebacker there that was getting every single first team rep. I mean, Zack Baun was the one who was maybe not going to start with Nakobe Dean fighting out for the job, not Devin White. Like, Devin White
Right.
was the foregone conclusion for just about everyone until like this last week or so when it started to really, get a little bit of steam. But even still, you're sitting there going, yeah, but Vic Fangio would have probably played something in terms of the first team. Like, to give Fangio credit, And I'm curious to get your thoughts. I'm just kind of, Watergates have opened here as far as everything that I've been thinking this past, 24 or 12 hours, whatever it is. But like Fangio's not the type of guy that's going to be, oh, hey, let's play our guy that we really like as the third team or the second team guy. What on earth are you doing? Like, he's not going to, he's been blunt about it. I mean, he called Nakobe Dean out whenever he didn't play well in the Eagles open practice. And then Nakobe turned it around. He played fantastic against the Patriots. He was the most physical player on the field. Both you and I gave him his flowers for that and said, yeah, he actually did perform well. Maybe there's a chance that he could do something, but still there was not a lot of, momentum or less hype, I guess, for Devin White to say, well, maybe not there. So I don't know. It's crazy. The snap counts too, you can go with it. Well, Nakobe played 51, I think, and Devin White was like 28 this preseason. It's so small sample size. You would have seen more of comparison going, oh, wait, hey, why is Devin White still in there deep into the second, third quarter if it was a legit competition? So I can't personally buy it.
I know there are a lot of people saying, well, John McMullen had Nakobe Dean as the best linebacker on the Eagles roster from day one. He's probably one of the few. You mentioned Andrew DeCecco as well. Mm-hmm. I never saw Jeff McLean. Again, we were covering every single day of Eagles training camp rave about Dean more than Devin White. There was a random tweet that kind of had a link to an Inquirer article that was behind a paywall that basically said that Dean is probably going to win the job like a week and a half ago. And so you mentioned this meteoric rise the past 2 weeks of Nakobe Dean. I had one Eagle reporter in Brandon Lee Gouton who was at every single practice on every week of training camp on my show, and we would talk about Nakobe Dean struggling. He's like, Nakobe Dean looks absolutely terrible so far in pass pass coverage. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is getting reps over him, and you saw this massive kind of shuffle of White was the surefire starter, and then they'd mix in Dean, they'd mix in, Zach Baun, they mix in Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and so the idea that the Eagles were always in love with Nakobe Dean, and he just clearly won this job, I think is a little bit overblown. I think there are two real indicators here. One, obviously, being the fact that, like you said, there was a starting linebacker group in 2 of those 3 preseason games, and Dean was not a part of it. And the other is the way the media has really kind of run behind this idea today, Josh. It's just a little interesting, right? And again, people tell you, are we media members? We're not media members. There's legacy media. There's people who are in the building doing the press conferences. There's people like us. There's bloggers. Like, there's a whole different, aspect and world of the media, Josh. But we went from 0 conversations about, basically 0, besides a tweet or 2 of Dean versus White. It was always going to be White and Baun, and we'll see how much they play Dean because they were going to do it by rotation. Today, it's like, oh no, like, what are you guys talking about? Like, it has been Dean this entire time, and it's just a little strange. Maybe the Eagles are trying to make sure that they aren't, putting out a bad look to the Packers, who are going to try, obviously, to expose the Eagles linebacker core. It's one of the big matchups we're going to talk about. Josh Jacobs versus this linebacker group of either Baun and Dean and Trotter, Baun and Trotter, however they want to, roll things out here.
Oh, sure.
But then to come out and say that they were trying to trade Devin White, which, alone is bizarre, just based off the fact that no one really wanted him in free agency. It's why he signed for so cheap in Philadelphia. Now you're telling me that the Eagles thought they could shop him before the actual cut line? There's just a lot of confusion going on here. We're not going to know what the answer is in the end. I hope Nakobe Dean turns out to be everything that people keep saying he is, at least today. But the idea that 4 weeks ago, everybody knew that Dean was going to win this job and Devin White was not going to be the guy, to me, as someone who was very... come on, we were covering this every single day. I just don't buy it.
Right. I am with you. And by the way, Nate here, shout out to Nate, says maybe it's just someone over there trying to put fears at rest. Don't worry, in quotations, don't worry that he's hurt. Dean was gonna start anyway. We're fine. Yeah, try to spin it in some form or fashion. But who doesn't love the good old linebacker by committee approach, right? Like that's just the true tried and true method of good football, good defensive football. No, like we were all sitting there going the same thing. Like, yeah, there's serious questions at linebacker, and not to say like, yes, Devin White is the answer, but there was a lot of hype and a lot of positives around him and going, okay, look, he made some mistakes. He didn't play good in our preseason game in 1 drive or 2 drives, made a few miscues. So did Zach Baun. Fangio covered for him. He didn't really say a whole lot about Devin White to begin with. In the press conferences after those games, Devin White was still coming across as not really. I mean, I guess you can't full blown say captain yet because they hadn't, unleashed or revealed who the captains would be, but kind of a captain of a sort. He's, accountability text chat or group chat that he had with like Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown to try to just, stir the team along. Like, these are not moves or signs of a guy that's like, oh yeah, you're probably going to lose this starting job. And I know that's not a end all be all at the same time, but yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. It's just one of those that's kind of crazy. To add on top of it, the trade, of the murmurs. I don't want to, go after an individual in particular, but I'm just going to say, if those were speculated reports, if those were murmurs, if you were getting NFL sources to say something around cut down or before cut down day, just please enlighten me. Why didn't that come out around cut down? Why didn't we hear, Devin White being looked to trade, because it's like, oh, well, here's now a good time to insert and say, well, I kind of had this information out there. I just didn't really share it around cut down day, because why would anyone want to know that they're shopping their potential starting linebacker? That just, again, it's timing is everything. I get it. There's some, extra motivation to be like, oh, hey, I've got a little scoop. There's maybe a little something here. And I'm not to say that wasn't a potential, but it's also like, okay, how serious was that actual report? It's made to seem like it was a very legit answer or a very legit move that was happening, when it's like, okay, if it was, wouldn't we have seen it beforehand? But nonetheless, Devin White's not with the team. He's still in Philly, or I guess at his house. I don't know where he is exactly. Not in Brazil, so he didn't make the trip. And we got to live with, I assume, I don't want to just go automatic, I guess now. I was going to say Nakobe Dean and Zack Baun. We don't know for sure.
We don't know.
You go out there and say it's Jeremiah Trotter Jr. maybe, or Ben Van Sumeren. Like, who knows?
There's only one way to spin this in a positive way, because, again, I mean, listen, he could come back next week. It could be fine, although ankle injuries can always kind of linger. They're kind of the ones that you don't want to have happen early on in an NFL season. And so if he comes back for the Monday Nighter or 4 weeks later, we don't know. I think he would have gone on IR if it would be something that was a little more serious, and you could have activated another linebacker or activated another player for the actual game against the Packers. All speculating. If you want to be positive here, maybe Philadelphia believes so much. They absolutely are floored by the progress of Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and they want to get him as many reps as possible. And again, we're not saying that this is a fake injury. Like, he's injured. He obviously can't play. But maybe they just want to kind of, see how much they can actually run with Jeremiah Trotter Jr., get the most out of Nakobe Dean in what's basically his last year on a rookie contract. They're not going to give him some sort of crazy extension if he fails this year. And so they we're going to be pretty average at linebacker anyway. White didn't have the best camp ever. So let's just see what we got in these other guys, because there's been some promise, and there have been good solid reports of a pretty solid training camp from Jeremiah Trotter Jr. So I don't know.
Definitely.
It's fascinating. I don't know the answer to what Nathaniel also just asked. What up, Nate? By the way, we are still waiting, Nate. I'm just going to let you know what we're talking about. We're still on, I'm on hold, basically, on that one. So we'll let you know when that happens. But he says, who's the green dot this year? I guess Dean, right? It has been Devin White, and of course Dean did wear it, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. wore it for some times during the preseason games, but my assumption is it will be Dean. And again, if you just believe the initial reports this morning, Josh, they've always loved Dean, and so clearly they've known for a while that Dean was going to start, and so it shouldn't be a big shocker on Friday night.
Right, yes. I mean, it's one of those that you believed in him. Howie Roseman talked about it for forever, and not to say that he can't be good. He can't turn things around. He's played with a chip on his shoulder. He's got an opportunity here for whatever you may say. Hopefully he stays healthy, for one. And then two, my biggest question and concern is coverage. I think when it comes to, run stopping and blitzing and things like that, I feel fine. Yeah. There's not really anything that I go, oh, hey, Devin White. I mean, I was asked this question earlier today, and someone was like, oh gosh, do you think this is the difference of winning or losing the game? Absolutely not. There was not yes, there was the optimism for, hey, Devin White potentially, hopefully can return to not even necessarily say all pro, but Pro Bowl type level. But just because he's gone does not mean that I go in there and say okay, well, the defense is just going to struggle miserably, and this is going to be a non-answer, because we still didn't know with Devin White, and we don't know with Nakobe Dean. Now, the hope is that he does live up to expectations and that he can be serviceable against coverage. Maybe better than that would be great, but at least serviceable. And then you just take it from there. But so far, it's just all speculation. So we're going to see on Friday night. I do believe still in this defense, though. I will say it starts with, and I'm sure a lot of people would also feel the same way, it starts with the defensive line. They set the table for everybody else. If the D line is playing well, this won't be as big of an issue. Yes, they're still in the middle of the field. We're going to be questioning that. Can Gardner-Johnson help on the coverage, especially over the middle? But we've got the secondary in place. We've got some guys on the D-line. Can Bryce Huff live up to expectations with a pass rush? Jalen Carter, I mean, if you have anybody the least amount of worries, I think that's probably Jalen Carter on defense. But Jalen Carter being what he can, Jordan Davis, those guys, if they're having a night, then I think that in a good way, we'll be like, you know what? Hey, Nakobe Dean played well. And if there's extra, if Nakobe Dean is the one who creates some spark, then you know what? That's a cherry on top. That's the icing right there, because you don't really expect as much. So you're expecting the D-line to, be what you hope they are. You signed some guys, you made some moves, you have some guys that you need to play a little bit better, and that's what Fangio's pushing them for. So it starts with the D-line.
And spending this back to the actual Packer game, which is kind of the point of tonight's live stream. I mean, we're kind of trying to get you guys ready for the actual live stream. The Eagles weren't going to win or lose this game based on the singular play of Devin White, right? It is going to be a total defensive effort. They're going to have to stop Josh Jacobs at the point of attack. They're going to have to get pressure with their front four, and you're going to have to cover well in the back end. And Romeo Doubs, I talked about on my show today, dealing with a hand contusion. He'll play. How healthy is he? That's a question. But they have good receivers who are not big-name household guys. Christian Watson is their best one. But they still have plenty of good weapons that Jordan Love carved a lot of defenses up with over the past, 7 games that he's played, including the 2 postseason games. One he won against Dallas and one he almost won against San Francisco 49ers. And so, again, as long as they don't find a way to single Dean out in coverage and let Josh Jacobs run wild, right? Like, as long as that is not the reason the Eagles lose, this is not going to be a major story come Saturday morning. If the Eagles win, it'll be even smaller of a story, especially if Dean's average and we don't really talk about him much. And it's just like Jalen Hurts balled out and the Eagles won. So the real question is going to be, how will the Green Bay Packers try and attack this Eagle defense? And will they try and go at the unproven cornerbacks in terms of Isaiah Rodgers and, Quinyon Mitchell, two technically question marks, at least from a regular season NFL standpoint. One hasn't played in a regular season game. The other hasn't in over a calendar year. Do they go after the linebackers? Do they go after one of the 2 safeties? Is it something where they attack the defensive line with run holes? That's going to be TBD. But I think hopefully in the end, Saturday morning, we're talking about an Eagles win and not about how terrible the linebacker group was and how it's panic mode all over again because Dean is not that good and White didn't play, and how healthy is he going to be?
Yeah, we don't need or want any of that situation yet. That's understandably some of the concern. You go into it even before this injury. I think that would have been some of the concern already, but then you had this happen and it just kind of amplifies it to a certain extent. But, ultimately, I think that we've said this a couple different times. Defense, yes, it's complementary football. You need it from all 3 phases. But at the same time, the offense is the one that is going to dictate terms, at least for me. Like, if they take care of business, they should be able to hold on to the ball. They should be able to move down the field, make things happen, help the defense, alleviate some for the defense. And yes, it might be a little bit of a bend but don't break, especially in this game. I know that's a lot of times a Fangio type of scheme anyway. But in this one, we'll see. Because there's parts of it where I can talk myself into saying, like, hey, you know what? This is a great opportunity here, right? There's things that we don't know, which is okay, maybe a little advantage, but the same thing for the Packers. And Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator, even said the same thing. Like, he's a new defensive coordinator. Could be good, could be atrocious.
Maybe.
Like the offense of the Eagles could walk in there and be like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Like we've seen many times, just as early as last year, we've seen many times a defensive coordinator, a new one that does not live up to expectations there. And so we'll see, but it is always, in terms of, you flip that around and you say, okay, defensive coordinator, Matt LaFleur, who's the least favorite or least that he wants to see in terms of defensive coordinator, and it's Vic Fangio. So he said that on record on an interview a couple of years ago and kind of reaffirmed that. So, he understands the Fangio scheme. That's why he's hired Fangio disciples of saying like, yeah, that defense is hard to scheme against. But again, there's lots of familiarity there. And so that's the part that I'm going to be looking at is, it's a chess match as always, but especially in week 1, like you don't really know. You can go watch last season film.
Yeah,
some things are going to change. Some things are going to be the same, but especially when you have new defensive coordinator for the Packers, you have new coordinators on the side for the Eagles. I mean, that's what I'm hyped about, man. I can't wait to see not a vanilla offense of Kellen Moore or a dumbed down version, but to say, all right, here you go, Jalen. The playbook's open. Let's go.
And we also got to realize that we talk about, game planning for people and how the Packers are going to have a brand new defensive coordinator. I don't think that there's a harder team to game plan for week 1 of the NFL season than the Eagles are this year, because you can turn on the tape in the final 7 weeks and go, wow, really badly coached. They can't stop the run. They can't do this and that. But at the same time, it's a completely different Eagles football team. Now you have to figure out what Saquon Barkley's role in the offense is going to look like. Now you have Jahan Dotson. Especially the secondary is so much better than it was last year, and 2 brand new schemes where you assume, Nick Sirianni said it in an interview a couple of minutes ago, I believe it was in NBC Sports Philadelphia when I just saw it on Twitter, but he basically explained that we've worked a ton on stopping getting killed by the blitz. That has been like a massive, massive thing. I know the media's been all over how Kelsey did all the protections and now Hurts does it and can he figure it out? They've been working nonstop the past 6 months on fixing the blitz. And so if Green Bay's whole idea is to fix the blitz and the Eagles suddenly, or to attack them via the blitz, and the Eagles suddenly have fixed the blitz, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert are going to go insane on Friday night. And so we talk about game planning. Oh, yeah. The Eagles are as tough as anybody to game plan against. It's going to be tough for both sides, but I think it's going to be very, very hard for Philadelphia.
Yeah, no lie. Again, you got to feel for an opposing defensive coordinator, because if I'm sitting there looking at that and going like, just come on, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, like it's unbelievable. And then the offensive line there. Again, you look at some of the hype and you don't want to overblown, because yes, you do need to see it. We got to see it on the field, but still you look at the squad and there's a reason why it takes a decent amount to get. There's some guys that'll be a little bit more hype, right? Like there's some players on the team that'll be very boisterous, very positive. And that's fine. But like BG, for example, he's going to be positive about just about everybody. And that's cool. But there's some guys that it takes a little bit more to go, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. And for Smitty to come out and go, yep, I'm looking forward to see the Saquon show. That tells you too, these guys are already excited, but you get it onto Friday night prime time, the lights come on and everybody's ready to see him, just like myself. It's not going to be the midnight green. It won't be the Kelly green. It's going to be a little bit unusual colored jerseys there, but still to see him in an Eagles uniform, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that he's going to score a touchdown. Like it just seems like if they get anywhere close, they're going to be, oh, there's, it's the new toy. It's the new guy on the team. You just got to go ahead and give it to him. So I feel pretty good. I had a couple of people asking as far as, like what bets, what picks to take. Seems like an anytime touchdown for Saquon Barkley in the first game. That it's not a bad choice on that side.
I'd be very surprised if Saquon Barkley doesn't score in this whole event. But, again, crazier things have happened. But if the Eagles don't score 28 points on Friday, I'll be at least more than 28 points. I'll be very surprised. Couple of comments here. Gregory, goodness, Leon Watson says, you never shut up Nick Wright. No, but I will say this. I gave a message to Nick Wright because I talked to somebody I used to work with who works with Nick Wright, and he is passing my message to have Nick Wright come on my show to Nick Wright. So Nick Wright has seen my invitation, okay, but I've not heard anything in 2 days. So my guess is Nick Wright will not do that. Obviously, Fox or FS1 has kind of revamped their whole TV lineup, and Nick Wright's kind of at the center of it. So why go on some former interns, Eagles show? But I made a nice pitch. Yep. We gave him a solid offer. We'll see if he actually wants to come on. But I would not hold your breath. But we have tried to get my former boss on my show. I think it is. I think it'd be a great format to come and explain why everyone on Twitter thinks he hates the Philadelphia Eagles. So,
I think so. We'll I would gladly moderate too if we really need to get one of those on there. But just to throw my name in the hat. But either way, I think it's must watch if it happens. So
his new take is that the Chicago Bears are going to be like the team this year, and he has them as like the 6th best team overall in the NFL, and Caleb Williams is a top 5 quarterback, and so a lot of fun stuff there. How about this one? How about a completely non-controversial, no drama question from Ohana Means Family? What are your opinions on us playing in Brazil, Josh?
Oh. Okay, we're going to go there. All right, I appreciate the question. It feels like we've been talking about this one for a couple days now, and it's really like a minefield. It's trying to navigate a minefield. Look, neither of us know the exact truth on what's going on over there, and it's impossible to unless you're even in the situation in Sao Paulo. But even if you are, it's hard to know because in this day and age of misinformation, like I don't know, right? But you see videos, you hear reports of the wildfires. You hear and see reports about air quality. You see and hear reports about the crime rate. And yes, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, the Philly crime rate and comparing those.
Sure.
That's fine. Whatever you want to do there. there's also the reports of the don'ts, the list of don'ts that they gave to all the
It's a long
players
one.
and saying, all right, don't say all the
Yep.
players being like, all right, I'm just going to basically hang out in my hotel. Up until hearing from Jalen, I don't recall hearing a single Eagles player that was like very positive about going to Brazil.
Nope.
So I'm just, again, reading between the lines, don't have an immediate direct, source to go, yeah, for sure, this is going to be great. And if we also take it to like, does the NFL have the greatest track record in terms of like, oh, we're going to be all for, just the safety and the, not going above and beyond compared to, well, there's a chance for a money grab and a market grab and everything else. And I got a couple comments saying like, oh, how are they making more money in this situation? It's about the global market. Like they've already conquered all of the US. It's now like go everywhere else you can to get all the eyeballs on it. So I don't know. I mean, I just pray and hope that everyone's healthy, safe, and returns, in no harm, right? Like that's the ultimate goal, that there's nothing crazy that happens from this. I know there's a lot of Eagles fans in Brazil. I appreciate it. I love it. If they can get to see an NFL game for the first time in their life because of this situation, that's cool. But again, I just think that it's, hopefully it ends up being one of those things where there's no concerns, there's no safety concerns, there's nothing like that health-wise. But when you have so many players that they may say something, Slay said it, he came back and apologized on Twitter, but it's like, it's been seemingly a little bit difficult to get players to talk positively about this situation. And so that for me is kind of like, look, I'm only reading into what the players are giving us. And it seemed to be a little bit of a stretch. So, I would have preferred personally for it to be in Philly. I've said that before. That was more so selfish reasons, or I guess first and foremost selfish reasons. Cause like getting to go to the home opener, Philly and the Packers, wife being, Packers fan, family, all that makes sense. But, yeah, I think that's about my thoughts there. I know the green situation has also come up. Have we officially dispelled the notion of the green jerseys?
I think
or the green
I know
color?
You did it on a show, and I did it on a show like two whole days ago, where they were explaining that they chose the black and white because that is kind of the home colors of the team that actually plays in Corinthians Stadium or Corinthians Arena, whatever they want to call it. And so, yes, that has been dispelled. I think you're right. I think that Big Kells' comment here says the NFL, which just went by me. Hang on. The NFL knows all eyes are on Brazil. I'm sure they have planned accordingly in terms of security. They don't want to be embarrassed. I agree. I do think the one kind of funny factor in all of this is that you're right. Like, literally, there was no positive comments from Eagles to even Darius Slay being like, man, this is crazy. I don't want to go there. I'm going to stay in my hotel. They're all saying their families weren't invited. I think none of them really wanted to go. I do think the Eagles and the NFL kind of pushed Jalen to be the voice of reason. He had a great comment in his press conference a couple of days ago. What an opportunity. And everyone else kind of fell in line after that. Is it a big deal in the end? No. I think the big problem for all Eagle fans, though, is this is the most important game of the NFL season, potentially week one in terms of playoff seeding, right? I mean, what's another team on the Eagles schedule that could realistically be vibing for the number one seed in the NFC, right? I mean, Dallas? I don't think Dallas. Most people don't, but sure, maybe the Cowboys, really. The Rams, I guess.
Game, but
yeah, like this is one that is absolutely critical, and it's not at the Linc, and you just mentioned it. Imagine the energy in the Lincoln Financial Field as Saquon Barkley runs out of the tunnel for the week one opener on a Friday night after Eagle fans haven't watched a football game in like 200 days. It would have been exciting. So I think it's going to be fine. Yeah. I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, the time change is another thing. You forget how far Brazil is kind of to the right of the, globe, because you think it's way down here, and yet in reality, it's just kind of like way down here, and so it's only a 1 hour time change. So everything's going to be just fine. I just wish, obviously, it was in Philadelphia. So what are you going to do? Not a big deal.
I didn't actually realize too. That it's a good point you make. I didn't realize as you were talking. Looks like Efren, I believe. Hopefully, I'm saying that name correctly. But it says Brazil and Ecuador World Cup qualifier that night. So I don't think the stadium will be packed. Apparently, we've got a competing
I think it'll be packed.
game.
It's only like
it should be
50,000, 60,000. It's not a big stadium.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be packed. And all those games in Germany and all those games in London always sell out quickly. And so the NFL wanting to be a global sport is already pretty much a global sport. And there are plenty of Eagle fans that have gone there. I think it's going to be just fine. So not a big deal overall. Most people going to the game were for the Packers because the unfortunate comments made by the Eagle players about Brazil. I don't know if that's the reason why. The Packers just travel very well, although I think it's going to be pretty positive for the Eagles in terms of how it looks overall. So we'll see.
Seemed like there were a decent amount. I mean, videos that we saw, but again, it's out of 50, 60,000 seats. it could be overwhelmingly, but yeah, I think there should be a decent. It's Eagles Nation travel pretty well.
Do you think there's going to be any sort of slow start? I mean, Devonta Smith talked about it yesterday that, no, it's been a different type of training camp. We've done everything at full speed, besides going, tackling to the actual ground, I think was his direct quote. He doesn't think there's going to be any sort of slow start. Any part of you a little worried about, quarter one is up and the Eagles have 3 points and a couple of 3-and-outs and we're like, okay, when is this offense going to kind of start rolling?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of PTSD from last year, the way that ended, to not see some positive fast start. So yeah, a sliver of it, but I would say that for the most part, I agree with what Smitty said and all the other players too. It's like they've had a more difficult training camp. It would have been nice. I know it's like very little, because even the Packers, I believe the Packers only got one drive in with their starters on offense, so it's not a crazy difference. We're like, oh, hey, the Packers played a full quarter, or played, like 2 quarters, something like that. They got, I believe, just one series. And so, but still, just to see the Eagles do it for one series, to, yeah, I don't know, the rust or the butterflies, or just to be out there as a group in the preseason, that probably would have been my preference. That's fine. We didn't get it. So there's a little bit of me saying like, man, there could be the first series or second series, after it's not scripted, maybe. But ultimately too, I think I go back to, we're not talking about, yes, the team is young, but it's not especially in the offensive side of the ball, it's not a inexperienced group, if that makes sense. Like they're youthful, but they're not inexperienced. And so I think that you talk about, guys like AJ is going to be ready, Devontae's going to be ready, Saquon, Jalen. You got a lot of the guys on the offensive line too. So just because they haven't played, they're used to doing it like this for the past couple seasons. So I'm not too worried. I think that they'll go out there. I'm just hopeful to see kind of a change, and I believe we will, but a change in those vibes of, last year it was like, did we just score a touchdown on that drive? Because it doesn't feel like we did. Like the team doesn't appear to be like, jovial of like, okay, cool. Hey, we did something positive. It was just like, okay, we scored a touchdown, but the team looks upset kind of still. So hopefully we get like more energy, more enthusiasm, even if it is a pro Packers crowd. We'll see, but still.
I mean, think about how many times this team lost over their last 8 games, right? I mean, even dating back to the embarrassing loss in the postseason, a lot of this team has remained the same. You mentioned guys like Devonta Smith, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, people who were playing in that football game and want to get that nasty taste out of your mouth. I mean, I feel like this is such an opportunity to go on a national stage and just quiet everybody up, right? I mean, as soon as we get closer to the NFL season, I watch very little, mainstream TV, ESPN, FS1, especially during the offseason, maybe a little draft coverage here and there. Basically, no training camp coverage, because ESPN will never show the Eagles for more than 30 seconds, so there's no real reason to watch. But that first week, the week before, we start getting a little more hype. I'll throw it on as I'm making breakfast or whatever in the mornings, and everybody keeps talking about how the Eagles had an epic collapse last year, and Nick Sirianni's on the hot seat, and we don't know if they're going to be good. And I think they're tired of it. I think they sit back and go, this is the best roster in football. Like, literally, put this roster in Kansas City red, put this roster with the Bengals stripes, any other roster in the National Football League, if this roster was wearing their helmets, we'd be saying this is the best roster in the National Football League. But because they struggled at the end of last year, and because the jury is still out for some on Jalen Hurts' abilities, and Nick Sirianni's kind of a clown, we don't know if they're going to be good or not. I think the Eagles can come out here and they can put a real beating on the media's darling team that is the Green Bay Packers, and their dark horse, or not really, they're just outright MVP candidate in Jordan Love. Beat him up 31-21. Beat him up 31-17, 34-10, right? And just quiet everybody. I mean, just absolutely silence everybody and go, wait a second, the roster that we actually do know is really, really good is actually really, really good, and they're going to be a major problem in the NFC.
I would love to see that. Yes. Shut everybody up. Let's make a statement game. Devontae here says Eagles 28-14. I guess on that note, have you come to terms with an official prediction for the score yet? Is that a number that you have ready, or
I'll give it to you right now.
Because
sure.
We are hopeful. Okay,
sure.
I was gonna say we are hopeful for them to have a statement game, but
sure.
Realistically, where are you at with Eagles?
31-20 Philly. I am all aboard on the Eagles winning this one big. I'm all aboard on it. I think it's because I want it to happen, and it would make my life about 90 times better if they win big. But 31-20 would be such a statement game. And again, who is Jordan Love, Josh? Like genuinely, who is Jordan Love? We got all this talk about how Jalen Hurts is still unproven, and yet he went an entire season, made it to a Super Bowl. Jordan Love sat for 3 seasons, looked absolutely terrible the first half of last year. If you go back and watch the film, which the media does not want you to watch, right? It's all the latter parts, but that first half was like, whoa, this is really bad. Can't believe that they missed on a quarterback and got rid of Aaron Rodgers. And then, of course, he balls out the final 5 games. He wins, playoff game and should have won the second one. And now he's the dark horse Nets Patrick Mahomes. He has a lot to prove. And there's a very real chance that the hype around Jordan Love is a little bit bloviated and the Eagles make him look silly on Friday night. And so I'll say 31-20. I think 31-20 makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's low scoring, but I don't know how this Eagle offense doesn't score a lot of points.
Okay. I like the confidence. There's actually a lot of people here with you as well. We got
31-14,
26 from Loki, 28-14, 31-20 from Devontae, 31-14 Shake Man, 38-17 So Turtles, 31-21 Jamar. So there you go. You got a lot of positives, and there was also a comment, I believe, as well that Jordan Love, maybe potential regression. So I do think that we win. I'm a little bit less on it. And again, this is probably the PTSD from last year, and I need them to prove it to me.
That's
and
fine.
There's like
That's
a cautious optimism, but I'm more so like I'm going to go with like a 27-24.
Okay.
Not terrible for the offense. I think that there's maybe a little bit of just rust for one. I don't think it's going to be terrible. Like, oh my gosh, what are we doing in the second quarter? We're just really struggling. But I think that a long flight, first home opener, or first game of the season, some anxiety, different playing field, all the differences, the changes, some potential rust and all that combined. I'm going to say 27-24 is probably what I'm going to go with. So
see, look, Matt,
not quite as much.
27-24. It's a fine win too. Not a problem. But just for people who are wondering, I'm just saying, Matt says, where was that? Love threw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Yes. Look what happened early on. I mean, literally, Atlanta lost. He threw 151 yards total for that game. They lost to Detroit. They lost to Las Vegas. They lost to Denver. They lost to Minnesota. This stretch right here, from week 2 to week 8, he was terrible. He was really, really bad. And technically, if you go a little bit further down, he still had a couple of bad games, including the Giants on the road on a Monday night. That's a game they should absolutely not have lost. They were 6-7 at that point, too, by the way. And they followed up with a pretty bad loss to Tampa Bay Bucks, where they only scored 20 points. So this whole idea, which apparently I'm not showing. Oh, wait, no, I am. Sorry, I thought I wasn't showing this. It's true, I am showing it. But this whole idea that the Packers were some sort of magical team last year and were dominating everybody, the answer is really no. They had a losing record up until week 17 when they got back to 8-8, and then they had a really, really good postseason run. And so, it is what it is. That doesn't mean Jordan Love is not going to be a great quarterback. Maybe this is his, real coming out party. He, shreds our secondary and stuff, which I hope it doesn't happen. But same time, I think I think people are really high on Jordan Love for something that they don't really know 100% what he's going to be like. Excuse me.
Yeah. I agree. He's got to prove it. So he got a deal. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it actually hurts it because there's maybe a little extra pressure, and we've seen regressions from quarterbacks who do get the deal there. So I will be interested to see on that side. Again, there's obviously, and I know you're not saying this, passing yards don't tell the full story there, but yes, within that first half of the season, I know that my wife and her dad and the family there was like, what on earth? Like, do we believe in this guy? Is he going to be the answer? And then, you turn a corner in the middle of the season, and thus the reason he got paid. Honestly, he got paid that contract because of what he did against Dallas and kind of San Francisco, but in the playoffs, he got paid that contract for that very reason. So they believe that he's the guy.
Sure.
Question will be, can he prove that he's the guy? The part that I'm excited to see is, you mentioned that Giants game, and Saquon Barkley had a really good game against the Packers there. He's the reason, or one of the big reasons why they beat the Packers, and that was with an atrocious O-line. So you put him behind this group, and it's against that same or very similar defense. And I'm just saying, I'm not going out there. I had someone who made a ridiculous comment the other night of like, oh, he's going to run the ball 35 times. Saquon's he won't run 35 times, maybe in 2 games worth. Like, they're going to make sure and keep him fresh. But I still think that he's going to have opportunity, especially with his O-line. So if we get up And all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? We can do a little dose of Saquon. You can insert a little bit of or spell with Kenny Gainwell.
Yep.
Some Will Shipley. I'm just saying, could be dominant. I'm excited to see that.
$5 super chat here from David M. He says, sorry, I've discussed already, but is Devin White really hurt, or is it just hurt feelings over losing the job to Nakobe Dean? You know, we talked about this. We didn't bring up this idea that it's hurt feelings for losing the job to Nakobe Dean. I'd be very surprised if this was the case. Now, there was obviously this kind of narrative for the final couple of games in Tampa Bay that he was upset he was losing reps, and so injury or not, I mean, that was part of the whole problem at the end of the year last season. This doesn't seem like it would be the case. Unless you want to get real tinfoil hat here, the Eagles did, like we said at the beginning of the show, make him LB1, say he was going to be LB1. He was LB1 every single snap, at least to start every single practice during training camp, and then they pull the rug out from under him a couple of days ago. Maybe it pisses him off, but you'd have to get really tinfoil hatty there to acknowledge that he's not playing on Friday because he's butthurt.
It's a little out there, a little crazy. But we've seen those comments.
I love a good conspiracy theory.
Well,
hey,
to a certain extent, I'm with you on that.
Extent.
Devin White did share Stefon Diggs on Instagram, his quote. I don't know if you saw that, but he shared it on his Instagram story.
What did he say?
It was, I'm going to paraphrase. I'm going to get it wrong, so I'm going to just paraphrase or get as close as I can. It's basically to the effect of Stefon Diggs saying, if you back me into the corner, you'll see that I end up proving you wrong. So I don't know if that was a share that as, hey, cool, good for Stefon Diggs, or that was like, okay,
probably
maybe
not.
I'm going to take that personally, use that for myself. So who knows what the full situation is there. Either way, I think that he's motivated, but I can't fully get on board with going of saying, yeah, okay, he was a little bit of injury, but they also told him, hey, you're not going to start. And all of a sudden he goes, oh, well, my ankle feels terrible. Then I just can't make it. Like, you're not.
Is it odd that he didn't fly down there though? Is it odd that he didn't fly down there though? Did that sent a little trigger for me, because it's like,
yeah,
how bad's his ankle? Like, if it's really bad, then they would
he got
put
in a
him
limited
on IR.
practice and then he was out. So he was actually he was out
real
there getting
conspiracy
some
with this,
drills,
couldn't you?
right?
Yeah.
He didn't get it out on the practice. So what is it today? Today's Wednesday. So he was Tuesday's practice. Yeah, Tuesday's practice. He was out there in very limited capacity, but still getting some drills in. The only thing that I can, and again, you can go both ways. We can get down the rabbit hole really quickly here.
Yeah.
But I will say, a 9-hour, 10-hour flight with a lower leg injury that you're wanting to get ice and compression and all this other stuff, and say, hey, we want you to be as good and as healthy as possible by next Monday night the following, like a week and a half. I'm going to choose to believe that, because it is something, but you could also make the case. And I know it's not a Brazil flight, a 10-hour flight, but like even when Nakobe was injured, they were thinking about keeping him there, I think for the LA game maybe. And Sirianni was like, no, he was asking to come. He's like, no, I want to be there. So it is a team aspect of it, but I'm choosing to believe like, hey, that's a really long flight, and something like that, you want him to be ready for Monday night's game, home opener. So the official home opener. But
there you go.
Be careful, because we can turn this thing around. We could get very conspiratorial quick.
We could. Let's just buy that. You know what? I'll go with Andrew R. It says 10-hour flight, might be worried about swelling, etc. There you go. No point of him flying, says Jorge Santiago. That's fine. Okay, we'll take the tinfoil hat off. We'll just sit over here. We're not worried about it. So,
but if somebody else has a conspiracy,
throw them out there.
That's great.
What's up, guys? Says Philly Don 23 with $5 super chat. Appreciate that. What's up? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're ready. I saw someone ask, hey, Thomas, how do you think our cornerbacks are going to play against the Packers wide receiver core? I feel good game from Quinyon Mitchell. He knows he has a lot to prove. I don't know. Josh and I want so bad for Isaiah Rodgers to be really good, because we spent personal time with him. Josh on his show. We hung out with him at the celebrity softball game. He's a great guy. He has a great story. I think Isaiah Rodgers has everything the Eagles have wanted in a cornerback for a long time. I hope he balls out. Same goes for Quinyon Mitchell. I think Quinyon Mitchell has superstar potential. I mean, and you don't know what the narrative is coming out of Philadelphia, but the hype that has been pushed to us on Quinyon Mitchell, Josh, is that he's had the best rookie camp of any recent Eagles rookie, minus maybe Jalen Carter, and we think he's going to be generational, right? So, I want those two guys to be good. And if the Eagles secondary is even decent, because it was so bad last year. I mean, if they are the 15th best pass defense and the 15th best run defense, you are going to be light years better than you were last year, and you won double-digit games last year. So, just saying.
Completely.
All you got to do is be average, because they were horrific last year, and they got a lot better in terms of personnel, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson should make a big role, or play a big role in making sure the Eagles have that swagger back in the secondary.
Yes, that is another part of it too. We talk about, we want them to have some, more energy and enjoying the game and showing some of that on the field, especially for the offensive side. But on the same token, or on the other side of the token with the defense, is show some swagger, show some intensity, have some passion. Like be jawing a little bit to a point. Obviously, not getting flags for it, but still, we want to see something. So, I am very interested to see within the secondary group, and I know it's all phases of it. We have talked about that before, but the defensive line getting some pressure, if they can do that, and the secondary last year was not getting the coverage, everything was totally disjointed. I'm believing that Vic Fangio has come in here and he said he was going to throw everything at them to say, hey, you basically get everything or as much exposure as you can, and then it's recall later so that you don't have to teach something new. You're like, oh, we've already gone over that. So that's what he tried to do. And it should pay dividends. I'm believing that it's going to pay dividends. And I'm also with you in the fact of, like, if they're just middle of the pack, that's all they got to be. Middle of the pack for the defense.
All takes.
Make some plays, have a couple turnovers. I mean, my gosh, I don't know how long it went of how many games in a row where we're like, it'd be great to get a turnover, something, anything at all.
Imagine a turnover.
How nice it would be to get a shortened field for the offense. So, and same thing for the offense, just to punt the ball and not being able to change and make adjustments. So getting both sides there, and obviously with special teams too, but getting both sides, I think it's going to be a night and day difference. And that's the most exciting part for me, is because you have both the coordinators. Heck, Jason Kelsey has mentioned it multiple times in various interviews. He's like, the coordinators are legit. Like, that is going to change things in Philadelphia. So I'm believing it. I know lots of people are, but it's about time to see it. We've done so much talking about it. It's about time to get out there and see how much change it actually provides.
Matt Teague says, how much playing time is Jahan Dotson going to get? Well, I'll put my conspiracy theory hat back on, Josh, and I will say that Kellen Moore, during his press conference 2 days ago, saying he will be heavily involved, is a decoy, and that he will not be heavily involved. I think he'll play, and he'll probably have a couple catches, but is he going to be like this secret weapon where it's like, whoa, Jahan Dotson had 10 catches out of the blue? No, I think 2 weeks to go ahead and learn the Eagle offense is not a lot of time. I mean, that is a real crash course in trying to be like, hey, you're a wide receiver 3. Have fun. Let us know how it is 2 weeks later. I think it'll be a little decoy-y, if that's a word that we can go and use.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I like that. Decoy. I'm going to disagree with you, actually. So we'll see where Jahan Dotson is. I'm going to just believe that he is. Yeah. That may be crazy, because I understand. Yes, it's been a very short amount of time to go in there and learn a playbook. But getting some extra meetings with Aaron Moorhead, wide receiver coach, and talking with the guys, AJ learning the playbook as well. I mean, heck, he's got a 9 or 10 hour flight if he wants to get an extra crash course. But there'll probably be some packages where it's like, oh, okay, we're not really ready for it. But I think he'll play a decent amount. We might actually see him more than what we would expect. Okay. So
how many catches? We'll see. Give me a stat line here. What do you got?
I'm going to go with, I'm going to say 4 catches. I think that's a solid night. 4 catches for Jahan Dotson. That's a lot. That's a ton for a wide receiver 3. Are you kidding me? Compared to last year, Olave Zaccheaus had 10 all season. If he has 4 catches in one game, we're halfway there.
All right. Fine. How many yards?
I'll go. Let's see. We'll go 4 catches, and I'm going to go like 4 catches for 60 yards. It's a pretty solid game.
That's pretty solid average. I mean, geez. Yeah. Okay. It's like 15 yards a grab. All right. Andrew Nathan says...
I'm going to say he gets forgotten on one play, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, there you go.
There you go. I mean, listen, I hope so. I'm just saying. It's going to be interesting. Andrew Nathan says 3 grabs for 73 yards. That is a lot of yak right there. He's going crazy. 5 for 45 is Devontae Williams. I think so. I think a couple of like 6'6", 10, 12, call it for the night. We'll see. Is it just me, or is Dean a 3-4 linebacker? Maybe he doesn't play well in 4-3. Better play well in 4-3 because, that's... he better play well in the 3-4. However, Philadelphia wants to run things tomorrow night. They're going to mix things up, obviously. Whatever the Eagles defense is going to look like tomorrow or on Friday, you better just look good. That's kind of the main goal there. Touchdown for Jahan Dotson. Yeah. Okay, there you go. I saw someone say welcome to Brazil. Someone said welcome to Brazil earlier because I know we have people watching from Brazil. Vinny from Sao Paulo, welcome, guys. We love football, and you guys are going to have a good time here. Do you know anybody who's going to Brazil? I know one. Simone Stanley is going. I know that. Other Eagle content creator and girlfriend to my former producer here in Atlanta on the radio station. Fun fact, very small world. She's going to be there, but I don't know of anybody else that I know that's going to be there.
Gail Saunders and the Fourth and John group, or some of them, I guess. The Philly Sports Trips. They've got a couple people. Yeah. So I believe they're going. Good one
for the Philly Sports Trips to go to.
Yeah, and then what's the dude's name? I always forget. The Mohawk. I mean, he's like
I've seen him all over my social media page.
I think it's Jamie something. I'm sure that somebody in the chat knows
Eagle
this.
Fan
guy.
The
Eagle guy.
He's there.
He was there at the.
He was at the Christ the Redeemer thing.
Yes.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah. Brazil looks fun.
Chant.
It looks fun. It's interesting times for them right now, but it looks like a fun time, and I'm sure that they are embracing all the influx of Eagle fans that are hanging out there. And I'm curious how the Eagles are going to handle tomorrow. I believe they said that it was going to be a community day, which is interesting, right? How much community work do you want to do the day before you actually play a football game? Nothing against the community, but I'm not sure exactly what that will do. Probably just shake some hands. But
hopefully maybe, pick up a shovel, take a picture, be like, okay, thank you. All right, go
back to the hotel, relax. Philly Sports Guy is our Mohawk friend. That's what I thought. I see him on Twitter all the time.
Yes. Okay.
He's all over my Twitter feed right now. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Eagles plane just landed. Do we have video footage? Let me see if I can get us video footage of the Eagles plane landing. Because I saw that the Packer plane was landing. Do we have the Eagles plane officially landing? Let's see. Eagles plane on Twitter. Can we find it? We have pictures from inside the plane. We have a flight tracker. It arrived 46 minutes ago.
All right.
Nope, I don't see that we have actual footage of the Eagle plane landing. We just have it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. We can't. Okay. Nope, we don't have actual footage of it. So sorry. We have footage. I have footage of the Packer one landing. So
I did see that one. Yes.
Packers plane has landed.
But
so
nothing.
My 80-year-old grandma is going to the game solo. Is she really? She just randomly booked the trip, says Steve. No way.
That's pretty legit. I mean, shout out to her.
Yeah. Jeez. That's crazy.
Have the confidence.
I'd be like, Grandma, what are you doing? You want to go with you? Like, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to go with you.
You need a chaperone or somebody? Like, that feels like it's, I don't know, a little bit irresponsible. I don't care where you're going.
Hey,
like,
live your
anywhere.
life, right?
You say, go to an NFL game.
That's true. Anywhere.
Like,
yeah, you go to Kansas City,
right? Like, I'm not
what are you doing?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that
Twitter.
Is a good point too. The no X, you saw those, Twitter, no
Twitter
X.
in Brazil. Yeah. Well, but I've seen a lot of the Eagle reporters, like Zach Berman from PHLY, he gave his Twitter account to his wife, which she posted a funny picture from Zach's Twitter account, and I've assumed that they're just gonna, text them and tell them what to post, and then post it from their home phones in Twitter. So we should have plenty of tweets. The game tweets are interesting though, because like imagine having to text your wife. Like, hey, text this exact thing about this, Eagle player and post this picture. Like, it just gets a little chaotic. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
it is going to be interesting. Yeah,
it's be interesting.
Following along with the game, because beforehand it was usually like, oh, hey, we're going to get like rapid fire, and now I'm wondering if it's going to be. You would imagine it's going to be delayed a little bit more, but to what extent, and then also how much information are we going to get versus just like. All right, well, it's out there somewhere. So Turtle says our Packers reporters are reporting on Threads, so that is, another potential option for some people. But I don't.
Come on.
I know there's some people that do. I don't really use it too much, but
yeah.
Raji, appreciate that. So let's go, boys. Love the content.
There you go. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Crazy Catchonk says, don't they got VPNs? They do, but technically if you get caught with a VPN, then you're getting an $8,000 fine. And so I think Eagle reporters are going to play that one safe, would be my guess, because none of them want an $8,000 fine. But I'm sure plenty of people are using VPNs in Brazil. That's, not a sort of crazy idea, but I think it's just fine.
Hypothetically, if we were there and we really needed to or wanted to, what would you use a VPN, or would you just text Paige,
think
or
I
would you
text my
just
wife.
try to?
Yeah,
Okay,
I would text Paige.
yeah.
And but Paige is also a wife who's like super into sports and like would know what to do, sort of thing. Like she is. I've never met a woman who has loved football more than my wife and understands it more than my wife. So the ability for her
Unfortunately,
to
she's pretty good
run
at
my social
fantasy football
media.
too. So.
Well, I don't think her team's that good this year, which, so she's probably going to finish last in our league. But besides that, I think she could handle it. But would I use a VPN? I don't know. No,
It's tempting.
Definitely not,
If they outlawed YouTube.
Oh man, yeah,
and
I'd
you'd
be
go back to
VPNing
your
that
hotel,
hard.
and you'd be like, I don't know, it randomly got posted, and we had to
crazy hard.
Someone else got it. They
do
posted it for me.
I'd write the script and make her sit in this chair and give you the update. The Eagles lost today, 45-10. It'd be pretty funny.
That'd be great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, always something. I just, again, it's going to a different country, international game.
Fun stuff.
But yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, that's crazy. You're going to have something else that you just adjust to it. And some people do have the luxury of being able to text it, whether it's a spouse or an intern or who else is going to be reporting stuff from the game, but not having as much content for that.
Paige Harris, I don't know who that is. She just commented, reigning champ. I think she's indicating she might have won her fantasy league last year, which I heard she struggled mightily through half the season and then randomly got lucky in the playoffs. But I don't know. That's probably just a random fan. We'll deal with that later.
Sounds like the Chiefs.
Thomas, you married your producer. No, I did not. No, I produce all my own content. No. My wife was lucky to marry such a well-known content creator as myself. She's the lucky one. I'm basically his producer. Oh boy, yeah, she's always watching these things. You can never get away with stuff. You never get away with stuff. Always watching. No, she's not. She's not my producer. I run my entire own YouTube channel. I've tried to get her to come on and talk about the Eagles, but she won't do it. So, hi, Thomas's wife. She's Jeremiah Butler. We'll see if she says hi back. David M says, first things first, crew thinks this is a must-win game. Is there anybody you've seen who says this isn't a must-win game? I saw ESPN at the gym today was saying that, oh my gosh, the pressure is on the Eagles and it's just gonna be crazy. Technically, it's not a must-win game, right? They could lose a close one on Friday, right, and come back and blow out the Falcons. You're 1-1, and it's not a big deal, right? It's not a big deal.
I would say we would. It's really difficult, right? Because again, and I think a lot of people understand this, but this is the NFL's international game in Brazil, and these networks are paid to cover these different games. And obviously, with the NFL being the mammoth that it is, there's a lot of times, as we know, having been in the industry, a push to be like, hey, let's make sure and hype this game up, right? So whether they were going to say it or not, there might be a little bit more, oh, this is a must-win game. They got to do this. You have to do it, right? And so they probably would have already had a little bit of that spun in that fashion anyway. Yeah. But then you just amplify it again because you have the NFL, saying, hey, this is our international game Friday night. We need to hype it up. It needs to go crazy. So it gets talked about more. But, people say things and do things for the views and the clicks and everything else, just like Kyle Brandt, for example, saying the Eagles are not going to make the playoffs.
Oh, my
one
gosh.
Of many.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't.
Where is that tweet? I got to find that one. I got to
It's not impossible because nothing is, but still to go out there and be like, okay, they're not going to make the playoffs. And then the teams that he put in there, I'm like, come on, man. Like it's like you're in the production meeting and you're going, let's see, what team can we leave out where we're going to get a huge fan base to look at it and comment and get a ton of engagement because they hate it. And they mull some things over and say, yeah, you know what? Let's go with the Eagles. Let's go with a team that looks really, really good right now. But I'm going to say that there's things that happen and they don't end up making the playoffs. It was a crazy take. It wasn't completely shocking because just knowing sometimes those takes, but I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Where is that tweet? I'm going through my bookmarks. I had it. I'm trying to find his playoff bracket. Oh, man, I'm trying to find it. I wonder if I can Google it. Hang on. It's Kyle Brandt's playoff. Yeah. Because it's just so ridiculous that people didn't see it. Where is this thing? I think I found it. Let's see. Oh, wait, this is a video.
I was gonna say, it was blowing up for a while, and then
it was. Okay, all I get is here. Let me see. Hang on. I'm watching a 15-second ad, and then I think it's going to be an NFL Network clip, which I can pause and show it. But it's so crazy. And I think I put out a tweet, and it was like, what would it take for this to actually happen? The Eagles not miss the playoffs, and my answer was like, oh well, it's obviously going to be the Eagles getting injured, and I had some really funny comments. I had people. Oh, did you just send it to me?
I just
okay.
DM'd it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't find it. Here it is. Okay. Let me just go ahead and share this on the screen. This is
what
Kyle
a lovely
Brandt's
bunch of teams.
I mean, look. This is absolutely insane. Okay, this is insane. So Dallas is the 1 seed. The 1 seed in this prediction. Falcons, Rams, Lions. Now, Falcons, Rams, Lions is not necessarily crazy. That's basically what most people would say. You could swap the Niners and the Rams, whatever. The fact it's 49ers, Cardinals, and Bears, with meaning the Eagles are not a top 7 team, is just crazy. How does this happen? In what world is the Arizona Cardinals even remotely close to the Philadelphia Eagles? And you got to think about this, Josh. They would technically be in a division that has 2 other playoff teams. So they're beating up on each other. So that means that, in this scenario, the Cardinals are a 8 or 9 at best win football team. So you are predicting the Eagles are winning less than 8 games because the Bears are probably an 8-8 wildcard team right here and missing the postseason. Just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's
this is a crazy one.
Oh yeah, it is. I don't know if we can actually see. I was waiting because I'm a little bit on delay with mine. I don't know if we actually saw the graphic, so you can
no, I didn't hit publish. It's up right. It's now live. Now we can see how bizarre it is right over here. Okay. Yes.
But yes, I'm with you on that because he's trying to get it for views, people to freak out. And
people are saying this is Nick Wright. This is Kyle Brandt, by the way. Nick Wright, I'm sure, also doesn't have the Eagles in his playoff bracket, but everyone keeps saying Nick Wright. This is Kyle Brandt's, though, from NFL Network. Just FYI.
Yes. Yeah. So, and he would probably have very, very similar. Probably sure the Nick Bears better because, you mentioned
he's a big Bears guy this year.
6th best team in the NFL. So he's going to say, all right, the Bears maybe get a 2 or 3 seed there. But, yeah, what would it, we're not trying to say anything else there, but fingers crossed, knock on wood. But it would take something terrible with the season, like injury related or something just awful for that to happen with the Eagles. That's the only way, really.
Yeah.
I know that we're talking about hey, Sirianni's got to save his job. The coordinators need to gel. The defense needs to be decent. There's things like that for sure. But unless we're talking about a catastrophic injury, there's no way that you go, oh well, the Eagles couldn't make a playoff game even as a wild card team. Looking at the squad there, I'm sorry, but if Jonathan Gannon is making a wild card game,
that's a great point.
All bets are I don't know what I would do at that point, right? If he's there before the Eagles are back in the playoffs, no, that's way too much.
Oh, well, it all starts 2 days from now as we're going to get ready to wrap things up here. We're over about an hour. And so, you have tomorrow, very quiet day, hopefully. I think we're both kind of assuming there's going to be not a lot of news. If there is, we'll jump on and give it to you guys, and then come hang out with us on Friday night. We're going to have a bunch of fun. We're going to go ahead and just have all the graphics we possibly can. We're going to call the game. We're going to hang out. And if you don't want to pay for Peacock, that's the place to come hang out if you don't want to give Peacock your money, which I understand, because I can't think of a single good show that's on Peacock. I just have to pay for it because I have to watch the game the way you guys can watch the game. So, not a big Peacock fan, but whatever. It is what it is. So, final thoughts, Josh? Anything else you want to add before we wrap things up here?
No, we pretty much covered it all. We appreciate everybody as far as, the predictions and everything else. I am hopeful that the ones that are more confident, like you, Thomas, and several of the others that are double-digit lead or double-digit win, that would be fantastic. I'm expecting it to be a closer game, but we'll see. But again, as you said, we're going to have the stream going, and so we're going to be giving reactions and play-by-play and everything else. I'm excited just by the fact that we've got meaningful football. Don't have to be these hypotheticals anymore.
Finally.
Everything else going on with the team. So what is the new Philadelphia Eagles, Kellen Moore offense, Vic Fangio defense going to look like in Friday night action, which will be strange, but I am super hyped for it. I cannot wait.
I'm with you. You say 27-24, I say 31-20. And we will leave it at that. Appreciate you guys watching us. We'll be back, obviously, on next Wednesday's live show, but obviously our recap's coming this weekend as well, so be sure to watch those. See y'all on Friday. Josh Davis, Thomas Mott. Go Birds. Go beat them in Brazil. Let's go, baby.
Go Birds.